I assert that people are perfect. Their methods need improvement. And as long as you're just setting goals, you're not exploring enough about what the method might be.
Wally Hauk focuses on helping leaders increase trust to improve long-term results and avoid problem behaviors. Over the last 10 years, Wally has helped hundreds of organizations develop the environments that create loyal, engaged employees and loyal customers. Please join me in welcoming Wally Hauk.
I'm going to ask you to remember only one word today at the end of this talk. Take the pressure off you, only one word. And I promise you that if you remember this word and you use it appropriately, what will happen is stress in your life will be reduced. I can also predict that you'll get more done. I also predict that you'll get more done through others. And why is that? Well, that's because this one word will be able to increase trust for you and trust in others. Therefore, relationships will be better. Now, do you think I'm going to tell you what that one word is right now? Of course not. All right, so what I'd like to do is introduce it with a story. A couple of years ago, I needed oil changed in my car, so I went to one of those quick lube change places. We've probably all been to one of those. And so I drive in. I've been going there for quite a few years, and they kind of know me there, but they always seem like they're trying to sell me something. But I always politely said no. And so this morning was not unusual. I drive in. The manager takes my car. A few minutes goes by. I go to get a perfectly good, horrible half a cup of coffee in the lounge. And the manager comes in a couple of minutes later. He says, "Mr. Hauk," he says, "you need a new PCV valve." I said, "I do?" He said, No. I said, "Relax." He says, "For your car, it reduces the emissions in your car." I said, "I do?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Wait a minute. I just got this car worked on at the dealership not long ago, and wouldn't that be something they would check?" He said, "I don't know. Look how dirty it is." And he rubbed his thumb across it, and I looked at the dirt. I thought, "Okay, fine. How much is it?" He said, $6.99. I said, "Okay, put it in." So again, a few minutes went by. It's time for me to check out. I go to the checkout counter. There above the register where the manager's working, I see the sign. It says, "Goals for the day, goals for the week." So I started reading. I thought, oil changes, so many. Air filters, so many. PCV valves, so many. So I asked the manager, I said, "So you've got goals for the day. Where'd those come from?" He said, "Well, of course, the home office sent those to us." I said, "They do that every week, don't they?" "Yes, they do." I said, "Let me ask you a question. Do you make a bonus on those?" "Yeah. Yeah, I do. And the guys make a bonus too in the shop." I said, "Let me ask you a question. How are you doing with those?" He said, "Pretty good." Is trust higher or lower? Did I ever go back? No. What happened? It has to do with this one word. Now, in order for us to understand this one word, I'd like to introduce this definition of trust for you. I assert it's an elegant definition. It's from the International Association of Business Communicators. It says that you can have trust when you feel appropriately vulnerable because there are 4 elements handled. 1, someone has concern for you. Someone has competence. They have integrity. They keep their word. And 4, they have shared common objectives. Now, here's my question. Which of these were impacted by this story in the quick lube change location? I assert that all of them were. Was he concerned about me or meeting the goals? He was concerned about the goals from my perspective. Was he competent? Well, yes, probably, if you count moving your thumb across the PCV valve to see if it's dirty enough. Did he have the same shared objectives? And did he have integrity? In other words, was he doing what he said he was going to do? Yes, but probably from the perspective of the management. So I can't hold the manager of the store fully responsible for breaking trust because the management of the organization created that situation. And so if he had used this one word, he could have changed the situation. And that one word is agreement. If he was able to make an agreement about how he was going to check those things in my car, if he could educate me about that, then that would have made a difference. Now, in order for us to understand this, I'd like to, again, show you that increase in trust is going to reduce stress, improve communication, less wasted time, improve communication and cooperation, and the ability to handle change. And is trust getting better or worse? Well, according to this recent research by Watson and Wyatt, only 39% of employees actually trust their senior management, and that's down 5 points from 2 years previous. And so falling levels of employee trust are a major threat to future corporate competitiveness. So what's critical is that we understand the difference between an agreement and a goal. An agreement is something that is specific, time-sensitive, and measurable, and it has a predictable method attached to it. The key is the predictable method. And all factors are under the control of the person. So if he had made an agreement to check my car in a certain way, I knew what that was, and he had that method clear, and I knew what that method was, my trust would have been higher. Instead, what he did was he had a specific objective toward which his effort was directed, which was making more and more of those sales. It's still specific, measurable, and time sensitive, but all the factors were not under his control. Therefore, he could manipulate those if he could, but he could not decide how many cars were coming in. He couldn't control that, but he could try to manipulate, and I assert that's what he did. Now, here's the challenge, is that we are taught about goals very thoroughly in our culture. I assert that we're not taught enough about agreements. In fact, we're encouraged to set goals and not necessarily agreements. And just to demonstrate, I'll tell a quick story. My daughter, who I'm very happy to introduce today, is with me here today, Emily. She really enjoys hearing me speak as long as I'm in front of the room. And so just last year, she came home one day from school. She said, "Dad, can you help me out?" I said, "Sure." She said, "I've got some homework." I said, "Well, tell me about it." She said, "Well, what I have is I've got to memorize the states and capitals." I said, "Can we all remember what it was like to memorize states and capitals?" I said, "Sure, I can help you with that." She said, "Great, Dad, because I've got a test on Thursday, and today's Tuesday, so I can study tonight and tomorrow night, but I've got to do the test on Thursday." I said, "All right, let me ask you a question. What's the predictable method of memorization that the teacher gave you?" She said, "What?" I said, "What's the memorization method the teacher gave you?" She said, "Dad," she started crying. She said, "Dad, he gave me a piece of paper with the states and capitals. He said, memorize it." I said, "All right, calm down." I said, "I'm going to help you." I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a memorization method. I want you to make an agreement with me to study it, use it tonight and tomorrow night for an hour each night, and then let's see what happens on Thursday." She said, "Okay." So we got to work. So Thursday came, Thursday afternoon, she walks in. I said, "Hi, Em, how are you?" She's fine. I said, "Well, how was school?" "Fine." I said, "Well, what do you mean fine? Tell me what I had that test today, Dad." I said, "Oh, yeah, how'd you do?" She said, "Dad, your method only worked 86% of the time." So by making agreements with predictable methods, where did I shift the focus? I shifted it onto the method so that we could, together, she and I could explore how to make the method better. I assert that people are perfect. Their methods need improvement. And as long as you're just setting goals, you're not exploring enough about what the method might be. So if, in fact, here's a benefit, if you're focusing on agreement, is that you get to give feedback about the method as opposed to criticism about the person. Feedback being data from a process or method for the purpose of learning, and criticism being an opinion or judgment. How many of us really enjoy being criticized? Exactly. So, but how many of us really love getting feedback? Sure. Why? Because learning is the greatest intrinsic motivation. So by setting and making agreements, what you can do is you can avoid giving criticism to people. In fact, I'd like to challenge you. What I asked you to do is to remember just this one word, agreement. What I'd like to do is challenge you to start using that so that you can eliminate criticism from your life. Eliminate giving criticism. Agreements increase trust because they handle all four elements in the definition of trust. They're able to demonstrate concern for others. They're able to demonstrate your integrity because when you make an agreement and you keep it, you're demonstrating your integrity. They're able to demonstrate competence in the method and you. And they're finally able to start to create shared objectives. I'd like you to remember just one word from this talk today. And that word is agreement. Thank you.
You've only heard a portion of what this great speaker has to offer. For more information or to book this speaker, please call the number on the label.